Forbes, Washington Post, and other international publications, all writing about the country with the most women managers. Yes, that's us, little but Talawa, Jamaica, always blazing the trail. In this Jamaica magazine, we share how government has created the platform to reap these kinds of achievements. Welcome to the program. I'm Theodore Henry. Jamaica is also doing well in business, and today we review how the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce contributed to those successes in 2014. Stay with us, we have that and more as the pages of the magazine unfold.
Are you being promised lots of money, trips overseas, marriage, gifts and other benefits without strings attached? What of jobs with excellent salaries but require no experience? You could become a victim of human trafficking, modern-day slavery, where you're forced to work or perform sexual favors. Remember, not everything that glitters is gold. If you or anyone you know has been a victim of human trafficking, call 811 or 1-888-PROTECT. Be wise, open your eyes, spot them, stop them. A message brought to you by the National Task Force Against Trafficking in Persons.
Good day, I'm Stacey Ann Smith and this is your GIS News for Tuesday, January 20. Government is moving to distribute over 45,000 certificates of title which are ready for delivery to property holders island-wide. Minister with responsibility for housing, Dr. Maurice Guy, tells GIS News that the titles are being prepared by several ministries and state agencies.
We are intent on having all of these titles out because we recognize that if titles get into the hand of the individuals, then certainly it will contribute to economic growth and development of this country.
Dr. Guy was speaking last week during a tour of 12 informal housing settlements in central Westmoreland. He said the ministry would be expediting the process to acquire the lands from the public and private sector entities that own them. Steps will then be taken to facilitate legal occupation of the lands by residents. Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller says her administration will continue work to ensure that the human rights of all Jamaicans are protected and preserved, especially for the poor and disadvantaged. Mr. Simpson Miller was addressing the recent swearing-in of the new public defender, Arlene Harrison Henry. She said government would continue to advance policies and laws to broaden and deepen the rights of the Jamaican people.
It is a journey to which I am personally committed.
This year's sitting of the Grade 4 Literacy and Numeracy tests has been pushed back to June 30 and July 1 to make up for the time lost in September and October due to the impact of the chikungunya virus. The exams were initially scheduled for June 4 and 5. In the meantime, Education Minister Reverend Ronald Thwaite says the ministry is still committed to the goal of 85% of Grade 4 students achieving mastery in literacy this year. The country is now 7.6% away from the target, but several interventions are underway to help close the gap. This includes the deployment of literacy coaches in schools. The ministry is also embarking on a project to improve both literacy and numeracy performance among students attending large schools. Chief Education Officer Dr. Grace McLean points out that due to their size, even if a large school achieves, say, 80% mastery, the number of students who fail could be equivalent to the total population of a small school.
We are going into the schools. We are being supported by the University of the West Indies and USAID, along with our literacy specialists led by Dr. Hill and our numeracy specialists led by Dr. Benjamin. We are going into the schools with the teams. We are going in with the results, the data, which shows the strands, the areas that the students are weak in. For example, expression is an area in a literacy that they are weak in.
Meanwhile, the Education Ministry has revised the target for mastery of numeracy, even as it continues interventions to help students improve their performance in mathematics. The target was initially set for 2015 in line with the United Nations Millennium Development Goals.
The fact is that recognizing that this goal is a significant distance away, the ministry has set a revised target of 85% mastery of numeracy by 2018.
58% of students who sat the 2014 Grade 4 numeracy test attained mastery, a marginal decline of 1.4% over the previous year. But the Education Minister points out that this still represents a 20% improvement for the past 5 years, moving from a low of 38% in 2010. To secure even greater gains, 55 math specialists have been deployed to 90 underperforming primary schools. Another 3 specialists are to be engaged in the next 3 weeks to provide support to an additional 15 schools. And finally, local suppliers and manufacturers will be able to meet, exchange ideas and discuss business opportunities with hoteliers and tourism stakeholders at an upcoming speed networking event. It will be held on Wednesday at the Half Moon Hotel in St. James. About 50 hotels and 80 local businesses will participate in the venture. It's being organized by the Tourism Linkages Hub established by the Ministry of Tourism and Entertainment. Support is coming from the Jamaica Hotel and Tourist Association, the Jamaica Manufacturers Association, the Jamaica Promotions Corporation, the Rural Agricultural Development Authority, and the Jamaica Business Development Corporation. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stacey Ann Smith. Thank you for watching. Nutritious food, succulent dishes, superior workmanship, and excellent service. Jamaica is on the go. Let's grow what we eat and eat what we grow. Let's harness the indomitable spirit of our most valued resource, our people. Let's support our local businesses. After all, buying Jamaican means building Jamaica.
Creating a sound business environment was just one of the achievements for the Industry, Investment and Commerce Ministry in 2014. Let's join Kerry Ann Smith for a recap of the year that was.
At the beginning of 2014, the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce had one major vision: to help the government meet its strategic priority of job creation and economic growth. During the year, it did several things to achieve just that. In 2014, government came that much closer to establishing Jamaica as a global logistics hub. The plan got a major boost late in the year. That groundbreaking for the total logistics facility at Newport West in Kingston marked the start of a project to build a 160,000 square foot warehouse offering 24-hour supply chain management and manufacturing.
This groundbreaking activity affirms its embrace of the vision for developing Jamaica as a logistics-centered economy. However, my personal sense of delight comes from the fact that this is only the tip of the iceberg in terms of the economic development and what is possible.
The Kingston Wharves Limited project will employ 150 persons in the construction phase and 450 after its opening in January 2016. To support that and other initiatives, in January 2014, government hosted a high-level 2-day Jamaica Logistics Hub Symposium. The objective was to educate and inform several investors and stakeholders of the priorities for the hub. Then in November, a 20-member team of public and private sector representatives went to China for training in logistics technology. The ministry's work to develop the nation as the 4th major node in the global supply chain made international impact as Jamaica moved up on the 2014 World Bank Logistics Index. The country moved up 54 places in just under 2 years. The Industry Ministry's contribution to job creation in 2014 also came through its support for the business process outsourcing BPO sector. New BPO centers were opened, including the Elephant Group's operation in the Montego Bay Free Zone. The company has invested nearly $77 million and is employing 600 persons. Meanwhile, the BPO sector was boosted by the provision of a $56 million grant under the Compete Caribbean program. In an effort to achieve the strategic priority of fiscal prudence and a credible macroeconomic program, the Commerce Ministry invested in a sound business environment last year. The ministry executed policies that resulted in Jamaica's significant jump in the 2015 World Bank Doing Business report, moving to 58, up from 94. The 2014 World Investment Report revealed in June that Jamaica recorded more than $500 million in foreign direct investment inflows in 2013. That was a feat achieved by the country for the first time since the global economic recession of 2008. Meanwhile, in the latter part of 2014, news came that Jamaica also moved up 8 places on the global competitiveness rankings. To maintain those gains, the ministry again hosted Expo Jamaica, attracting more than 600 buyers from 28 countries.
The government of Jamaica recognizes the important role played by entrepreneurs, the sizable contribution they make to employment and to GDP growth, and their implication for overall national development.
So last year, the ministry facilitated a $1 million grant to boost the export potential of 33 Jamaican companies. It came from the Caribbean Export Development Agency. In October, the Jamaica Promotions Corporation, JAMPRO, launched its $100 million Export Max 2 program. The 3-year project aims to improve the productivity and the competitiveness of 15 companies. In the meantime, the Jamaica Business Development Corporation, JBDC, rolled out its Mobile Business Clinic initiative. It offers a full suite of business development and technical support services to MSMEs.
These entities are responsible for many of the new jobs created each year in our country and have the potential to create many new jobs. They must be nurtured and they must be supported at all levels.
More entrepreneurs were empowered to improve on their business model when the JBDC established an Entrepreneur of the Year award during the year. The creative industry was also targeted as a driver for job creation and economic growth last year. A number of innovators received pre-qualification for an Exim Bank Creative Industries loan of up to $2 million at a special concessionary rate of 9.5%. Their work will also receive exposure at tourist stops across the island. The Jamaica Intellectual Property Office, meanwhile, carried out a rigorous marketing campaign that resulted in increased registration of trademarks by entertainers, record producers, and event promoters. JIPA also forged a partnership with the World Intellectual Property Organization to enhance training capacity.
We are facilitating the growth of the creative industries in Jamaica.
Later in the year, JAMPRO and Bob Marley Foundation forged a partnership for the promotion of the Jamaica Film Festival, slated for July 7 to 11, 2015. And in a partnership with the Science and Technology Ministry, the Industry Ministry facilitated training to equip young Jamaicans to tap into the global animation industry. Whether it was through setting up Jamaica as a major transshipment center, supporting MSMEs, or advancing the creative industries, in 2014, the Anthony Hilton-led ministry aligned its projects to support the nation's growth agenda and a strategic focus on job creation.
It's time for us to get it right. Equal rights and justice. For our men and women. Equality. A message from the Bureau of Gender Affairs and Dispute Resolution Foundation, paid for by the UN Women Fund for Gender Equality.
If you've been watching since minute one, you know Jamaica is the country where you're most likely to have a female boss. According to a recent report from the International Labour Organization, females account for nearly 60% of Jamaica's management, the highest level anywhere in the world. With a female Prime Minister running the country's affairs, we couldn't expect any less from our private and public sector leaders. Learn from some of these leaders who have helped to create such a dynamic change.
You can call me by my name, I am ready to roll. Once the rules remain the same.
Mother, wife, sister, aunt, friend, woman, an integral pillar in the structure of society. Though they continue to struggle for equal regard and rights in all professions and areas of life, women are determined more than ever to change the cultures of male-dominated societies and imprint their proficiency across sectors.
I am Ambassador Eleanor Felix, and I'm Chief of State Protocol in the Office of the Prime Minister.
Diana Grand Corporal, Police Officer, Jamaica Constabulary Force.
Yeah, I'm going to leave Vandenberg, and I'm the new ambassador of Belgium in Jamaica.
Women for a long time, maybe forever, you know, for the whole of history, we were considered to be the weaker sex. We're not able to contribute as much.
With the world's adoption of International Women's Day in 1910, greater emphasis has been placed on empowering women to boldly take on the challenge to enter male-dominated professions.
So what we do particularly when we look at the day is to look at the achievements of women, how far we've been and how far from whence we've come. Not only that, but how far we need to go.
Here in Jamaica, there have been significant social, political, and legislative initiatives that have set the pace for the desired goal of gender equality rooted in the empowerment of women and girls.
And with that has come a new movement. While not forsaking their role in the home, women have chosen to take on unorthodox professions, branching out into fields once dominated by men. Women can now be found in every profession. In many instances, they're the ones leading the charge in changing the face of the corporate world.
I'm Rita Humphreys-Lewin. I'm chairman of Barita Investments Limited.
Mary Witt McKenzie, acting CEO for Central Information Technology Office, called CITO.
I'm Dr. Scott, director of the National Blood Transfusion Service.
And this empowerment is a global phenomenon.
I think that's quite high level in Belgium, and that's not new, it's in several times. We always had, well, not always, but as long as I remember, women ministers, women CEO, women professor at university, women doctors, female doctors. I think it's quite active in my country. It has been a long way to get there, but they got it, you know, and I think somebody who's really convinced to get somewhere, they get it.
And there is the fact that women are reaching the pinnacles in academia. We have, at this time, upwards of 70% of graduates from universities being female.
Lioness is on the rise, don't you ever have doubt.
It is my view that we are on our way as women to being recognized and accepted as being full partners in the world of work.
This determination to excel continues to be fueled by greater educational access. Case in point, the evolving information communication technology sector, which is creating dynamic opportunities for women.
It gives us another avenue as a career. We can be engineers, we can be programmers, we can be web designers, we can be anything that we want to be on using ICT. And therefore, it is something to enable us to be better women, to be better girls, expanding our horizons for careers and expanding our horizons for economic growth.
But is this empowerment of women really changing the lingering gender biases and discrimination?
We have more women in parliament than ever before. We have women who are across the nation who are willing to step out and be political, if you will.
I think we achieved already a lot in Belgium, also in your country, I think. You have a prime minister lady, Belgium never got that.
And you also hear from the men of power that women are taking charge. Sometimes you wonder if people are becoming fearful of a takeover by women.
I am woman, hear me roar.
In numbers too big to ignore.
With significant progress being made by women, there is still a long way to go to achieve true equality.
And don't watch the fact that I am Prime Minister. I barely crack that glass ceiling. Much more work to do, but I ensure that I'm taking along in the political process other women as well, including young women.
Do we really have equal pay for women? I think not.
The way they judge us, it shouldn't be based on male criteria. I think they should use maybe different criteria.
We've done some good work in creating families, and it is a recognition of that that is forcing the recognition of women in the workplace.
The majority of our Jamaican women and girls must be truly empowered so that they can enjoy the best of what Jamaica can offer. We can best achieve the changes necessary when all of us, the entire society, are committed to the full understanding of the plight of the disadvantaged and marginalized majority.
I truly believe that even within my own lifetime, we will be considered to be more equal than has been the tradition.
Be it inspired or empowered, there is no turning back for our women. Pushing forward, pressing ahead with a mission to have a place in the workforce, a voice in decision-making, and equal opportunities on the ladder of success.
I don't wanna be no guy, just wanna be respected by the eye. Don't let the style overshadow the credential.
Ground broken for $2 billion total logistics facility at Newport West.
The government sees this launch as a step forward for Kingston Wharves Limited, a big step forward for the development of the logistics hub.
And another historic moment, segment 2 of the north-south leg of Highway 2000 completed and opened. Plus, lower deposits make it easier for Jamaicans to own a home.
The amendment would result in a prospective purchaser having to find 3% of the price of the house as down payment.
Catch the full review of the Ministry of Transport Works and Housing on Wednesday, January 21, inside Jamaica Magazine.
Last Tuesday, in commemoration of Earthquake Awareness Month, we began airing parts of our extended feature on lessons from the 1907 earthquake, which devastated the island. Get some more historical insight on the subject captured in photography.
The first headlines went out without pictures, of course. Kingston destroyed by earthquake and so on. Everybody was curious. Was it really destroyed? How badly damaged was it? And so on. So that people were very curious to see what it looked like. And then the pictures started appearing.
Photography was essentially in its infancy in Jamaica at the turn of the 20th century. Even though several persons operated photography studios, the art form was not a well-developed genre. Photography was more or less a pastime, a way of creating keepsakes like postcards to send abroad to relatives and friends. Several images of 1907 were relayed to foreigners, utilities downed, scavengers in rubble, Kingstonians dazed at the fate which had befallen their city. Many of the more poignant depictions of Kingston circa January 14, 1907, therefore, remained outside of the city and Jamaica for decades.
It's what Jamaicans were sending out to the outside world that has survived. You know, there's really very little that has survived in Jamaica itself, except, of course, what the National Library has collected. But most of what I have collected has been literally searching the outside world for images. And I am amazed at how much has survived. I mean, I remember when I first saw my first photograph of the disaster, I said, oh my God, I wonder if any more exist.
Today, searches on the largest internet-based marketplace, eBay, yield an image of the 1907 Great Kingston earthquake for sale every day. The event is one of the most reported of its time and ranks highly on the list of the best photographed.
Disaster photography is a very special area. People are fascinated. They still are. Just think of 9/11 in the United States and all the images and the television images and so on of 9/11. People wanted to see what happened when those planes flew into the buildings. It was very similar. Jamaica was in the headlines.
Telegraph and postal services were limited by the disaster, and so the foreign media had to improvise when compiling pictures to accompany their breaking headlines. They commissioned artists to create their own impressions of what Kingston looked like in the wake of the earthquake. Jamaica, however, had its own assembly of photographers who captured several post-quake images and amazingly managed to develop and salvage the collection. There were Theophilus Duperley, grandson of the famous Adolphe Duperley, who printed lithographs of the 1831 Christmas Rebellion and the Emancipation celebrations in Kingston in 1836. H.J. Calm, E.E. Grant, better known for his tourism-related photographs, and John Clary.
Theophilus Duperley actually was at 85 King Street, which is about where the fire started on King Street. He was actually trapped in the wreckage of his building, you know, and to get away from the fire, he literally had to leave his right arm behind. As a consequence of that, obviously, you know, with the destruction of his property, the cameras and everything, there are very few photographs by Duperley, who was the most famous photographer.
However, Dr. Boxer has attributed most of the surviving quake photographs to John Clary, perhaps the second most famous photographer of that era. Clary had compiled an album with some 23 images of the destroyed city, and an additional 18 of his post-quake photographs are owned by the National Library. The exhibition's curator, however, votes E.E. Grant's photographs most emotive and interesting.
Join us again next Tuesday for the final highlights of the 1907 earthquake experience.
There'll be a better tomorrow. 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 There'll be a day. There'll be a way. There'll come a time to sing a brand new song. There'll be a better tomorrow.
We've come to the end of this edition of Jamaica Magazine. It's been my pleasure to share the pages with you. Share your feedback with us by sending your emails and comments to jamaicamagazine@jis.gov.jm and connect on our various social media platforms. You can also watch previous shows on our YouTube page. On behalf of the JIS production team, I'm Theodore Henry. Keep safe.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.